Welcome to Pro Audio Profiles. My name is Brendan Decora, and each week I'll be hosting different guests, mainly engineers and producers, but also people from across the industry. Enjoy the show. Today, we have Damon Turner. He's an artist, producer, founder of Trap Heels, and a cultural architect. Enjoy. First and foremost, I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Honestly.
I like to start out with kind of your backstory, if you want to go through what led you to where you are now.
Yeah. Born in Los Angeles, raised in Atlanta. And about 15 years ago, my mother passed away.
Okay.
She was living in LA at the time. And so my sister and I moved across the country from Georgia to be here. And, you know, I found a lot of purpose here and just stayed, man.
Right.
Yeah. So it was one of those situations where I was working at a gas station, which was really, really cool. And almost like a really like guaranteed successful position.
Okay. Sounds odd for a gas station.
I know, man. Look, shout out to Quick Trip. They have a really, really dope,
Nice.
really dope model. But so I was working there, toying with the idea of being an artist, like, you know, talking to certain customers, like, hey, are you into music? And, you know, I rap too, right?
Right.
And then when I came here, I just literally said, F it, I'm gonna become everything that I think I am or want to be. And so I just started moving into the artist space and stayed.
Yeah.
And so it's been great.
And how long was that?
So my mom passed away in 2008. I moved here in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Ever since then, yeah.
Yeah, ever since then.
And you've even been producing other artists now too, yeah?
Yeah, which has been pretty cool. You know, I was given an opportunity to play the trumpet in elementary school to keep me out of trouble.
Nice.
And so, you know, I've always had sort of the ear for just music in general.
Right.
Being raised in the church in the South, it's heavy music, into music. And so, you know, being, like I said, in that space, it's given me some abilities to like be able to hear certain things that may make sense. And I love, you know, popular music. And so, yeah, it's been a gift to be able to like work with some really awesome artists.
Nice.
In that capacity. Yeah.
Awesome. So I have to say, you are the first guest on my podcast that is actually an artist.
Dope.
So far, it's just been engineers, producers, studio managers, even gear manufacturers, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Because I wanted to get you on, you know, because one of the main things I like to talk about is how to inspire artists in the studio as an engineer producer. And because you've also produced other artists, I'm sure, you know, you've been on both sides of the glass, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah.
So talking about your music, where do you find inspiration for your music, and how do you translate that into a song or an album?
I mean, inspiration comes from a lot of different places. You know what I mean? I think the idea that helps be a producer for another artist or myself is just being open, right? Curious even for what's possible. You know, we've even talked about this because we worked on a couple of records together that, you know, let's just try it. Like, there's no rules really, you know. The only real rule is just knowing how to move around the DAW. It's just like, can we get to the idea as fast as possible? That's the only real like rule, but everything else is an experiment. And so for me, I pull a lot of inspiration from, you know, life experiences, my kids, you know, pain, of course, you know what I'm saying? Like, and recently it's been love has been a big inspiration. And so,
Awesome.
Just being open and curious is the main ingredient.
Awesome. And how do you like the studio environment to be set up to help you reach your creative peak? Are there specific things that make you feel more inspired or comfortable?
I mean, I like being in my own space, honestly. Yeah, I just feel like I can curate the energy differently in my own space. Yeah, that's really it.
You just want to be.
I just want to be in my own environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, just comfortable, because it's not one of those things where I can only have one person in the room with me as I do a thing.
Right.
I can have 50 people in the room if the energy makes sense.
Right.
You dig what I mean? And not necessarily even on a collaborative or creative energy. Like, even if just people are in the environment that aren't musicians, that's still cool, because I'm a very social person when it comes to art. And so, but I want to be able to control the energy that's coming in and out of a space.
I actually still remember one of the first times we ever worked together. You came to a big studio we were working at, and I remember you were kind of out of your element, because you were not in your own space.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's all about creating that environment.
Absolutely. It's super important, you know? And I remember that take was with a really dope artist, and it was just like, and I remember even like, the artist not feeling comfortable with people being in the room while they were recording, right?
Yes.
And so I was like, oh man, I just picked up on all this energy, and I was like, yeah, I gotta have my own room.
Right.
I need my own room.
Right.
Been going after it ever since, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And when it comes to collaborating with producers and engineers, what qualities or approaches in a producer or engineer have helped you deliver your best performance in the studio?
I'm gonna say humility.
Okay.
But in the spirit of like someone who's not driven by like industry ego, industry standards even, right? And that's like a two-part answer. The industry standard is that an engineer just shuts up and pushes buttons.
Right.
A lot of times, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm creating with someone, or if I'm creating for myself, the engineer is like the most important part of the band,
right,
in the studio.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Unless I'm going to be in there trying to record myself. And so, to have an engineer that's humble enough to like play a position, like to be a vessel, right, for whatever is coming in and out, but also like having that boldness to say like, nah, you need to do that one again.
Right.
Like, yo, that was a dope take. Try it again. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like be in the space, right? And that to me is what draws out the best performance, is because again, I'm comfortable in the vulnerability with someone like that versus somebody's like, yep, that's great. What's next? It's like, nah, bro. Like, I know that I didn't do good. So if you can confirm that real quick, because you're hearing how shitty this sounds, bro.
Right.
So yeah, I think an engineer that's humble, that's a vessel, that's open, but that can also give that like really dope creative, input. Yeah. Right. And I know that there's like all kind of technicalities with that, whatever, but like, F it, bro. Like, you want the best product possible. Yeah. Right. So you got to just do it.
Exactly.
That's what I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how do you prepare yourself mentally and emotionally before entering the studio? And how does this preparation influence your performance?
Recently, I've explored, psychedelics personally.
Okay.
Been doing a lot of research that it really helps with trauma. Psilocybin specifically really helps with, building, neural pathways to certain parts of our, brain and memory.
Yeah.
And so I've gone through a significant amount of trauma in the last few years, post my mother passing, that I wanted to try something new,
Right.
I'm used to being sort of the artist. First of all, I started as a poet rapper.
Right.
And so that's a very isolated experience, has been for me, just being in my own space, writing in the room to a beat on loop, and then taking those like pre-written verses to a studio with someone, and I genuinely only need you to press record and edit it, versus now I'm exploring a lot more like singing, songwriting, R&B, soul performances. And so I don't really have a metric for how to do that. Right. And so using psilocybin and just like, allowing myself to just feel deeper. I'm just going into the studio and freestyling a lot of these energies. Right. And so that's been a very interesting journey, and I don't know where it's gonna go from there, but that's been like the recent preparation is just, microdosing for sure, and then just like letting the energy be what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
For sure.
So, how do you view the role of music in society, and what impact do you hope your work has had on listeners?
I mean, we saw during the pandemic, bro, that artists saved our lives.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's no small feat, bro. I think music plays a huge piece in everything that we do. Everything. I can't go a day without hearing music, like, you know?
Right.
And so I think it plays a significant role in how society understands the environment around us. And how I want my music to be received in that capacity is similarly. I want to make records that stand the test of time. Like, I want people to like connect an emotion to these songs and know that they're there for them whenever they need them.
Right.
You know, they're tools, right? You know, I have a couple songs that I made during the Black Lives Matter, like early Black Lives Matter movement days. And one of the songs is called hashtag BLM here. And the chorus literally just says Black Lives They Matter here on repeat. And I put the song out while I was in jail for protesting.
Okay.
And, you know, the song has since become a like global chant.
Right.
At every freaking movement,
Yeah.
every space,
It's like an anthem.
somebody's saying Black Lives They Matter here, and people don't even know where it comes from.
Right.
Right. And, you know, shout out to the homie Jasmine Abdullah. Like, she was the first person to like start that chant at a BLM protest in LA. And so I understand the power of music in society.
Right.
I want to be able to contribute to, I think, the bigger conversation beyond just like protest music.
Right.
I want to really tap into just the human music, right? That we all need every day, man. And so, yeah, it's huge. It's really huge.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, how has your approach to recording and performing in the studio evolved over time, and what have been the key factors in that growth?
Yeah, I used to be a punk, bro. I used to be super scared of the mic.
Right?
I used to be so scared,
What?
man.
Really?
So intimidated by the mic.
I would never know.
Man, because it's almost like how people feel about cameras.
Right.
Right? You can be super comfortable, regular, and as soon as the camera's in front of you, you don't know what the heck is going on.
Right.
I think a lot of it has to do with understanding the technology, right? Because when you look into a camera lens, it looks like an eye's looking at you. It's just kind of like, what's going on? It's like, no, bro, it's just glass. It's this.
Yep.
Same with recording, man. Like, once I understood, you know, a little bit better what was happening with the mic, I was just like, okay, so my voice is an instrument. Again, coming from spoken word, where you do a lot without microphones, you have to be able to project so loud.
Right.
I was destroying mics, bro.
Yeah.
In studios, they were like, dude, you bring it down.
Yeah.
You're fucking up the tubes, man. and so, you know, over time, though, again, understanding my voice as an instrument, I got more comfortable within myself to deliver these ideas in ways that is not sort of monolithic.
Right.
And so, yeah, and I think now I'm having fun, you know, exploring the softer side of my voice, the softer side of my vulnerability, you know, and just, you know, again, just exploring different parts of myself, whether it's, you know, very soft whispers and falsetto or full voice, you know, blues, you know, wailing it out. And so, yeah, but I was scared early, man. I was scared.
Nice.
We should also contextualize this that we've spent many hours in the studio together, so you have a different purview than most people.
Like I said, that's shocking to hear that because you're so comfortable behind the mic now. You know, it's like, okay, that's
imagine. Yeah, you would have hated me 25 years ago.
Nice. So how do you maintain the spirit of experimentation in the studio without losing focus on the end goal of the project?
I think going back to what I said earlier, just about exploring new ideas now with the singing, songwriting stuff, like I'm not approaching music with an album in mind right now.
Right.
You know, I'm really approaching it. Every instrumental is inspiring a vibe, and I'm letting that vibe be what it is. And it just so happens that, like, oh shit, these last 6 vibes kind of sound like they can go together. You know what I mean? Versus sitting down with an album concept and I have to hit these numbers and I want 13 songs and one of them is going to be the lead off single and like the last 3 are, like, bro, that's that's not where I'm at today. You're not to say I'm not going to be there tomorrow, but you know, yeah, man, I'm really just taking my time with this experiment, right? And I'm calling it an experiment because, once again, like, music has always been my safe place. Music has always been, you know, a sanctuary, and I've never wanted to nor learned how to commodify it, right? And so other aspects of my personality, whether it's organizing or events and productions or whatever, I've been like, okay, cool, I'll go do a job with those skills, but my music is going to stay pure. It's going to as pure as possible. Right. And so I think I have a different perspective than other artists in the industry, like professionally, because they are on certain, you know what I mean? Like time crunches, label expectations and things like that. And I'm just like, bro, I'm having fun and I'm experimenting what feels right for me. Right. And so that's keeping me inspired today. Yeah. Nice. For sure.
And are there any particular techniques that a producer or engineer has introduced to you that have become an essential part of your creative process? What?
This is a slight plug for Brendan Decor.
What? No. We've never worked together before. I don't know what you're talking about.
Everything that's happening right now, bro, like, I'm gonna give you your flowers. Like, the sound that I am making right now is because of you.
Okay.
For sure. My entire sound right now is Brendan Decor, and I give Marvelous She her flowers as well, because when I first started hearing what y'all were doing, I was like, oh shoot, what is that reverb? Oh, Valhalla, I need that. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so that became sort of the base of my sound, and then, like, you've added some really beautiful plugins to creating, I think, the sound that I start with, and then I, you know, mix from there and grow from there. But yeah, bro.
I mean, I did help build your template.
You definitely built the template for your boy. So whatever.
All right.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right.
I'm good right now.
I just want to take a quick break and tell you about my free guide for creating massive snare sounds. In it, I go over all my techniques, from drum choices, tuning, microphone placements, even mixing techniques. Check it out now at brendandecora.com/huge snare. And now, back to the show. When it comes to producing other artists, how do you balance the technical demands of production while keeping the artist engaged and creatively free?
You saw what I just did there? Took a deep breath.
Okay.
That's the answer.
That's the answer.
Breathe, man.
All right.
You know, I think like that. I mean, I say that jokingly, but I'm also very serious. Like, it takes a level of presence and intentionality to be able to balance those two worlds. And I'm a novice in the space, right? I'm not like 30 years producing other people, but I've spent, 20 years producing myself, 20 plus years, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and you also produce anyone that comes into to your song.
Yes.
You're producing them too. So
yes.
You've been doing it longer than you think.
when you think of it like that, you're absolutely right, bro, honestly. And so I think it does take a level of intentionality. It takes a level of presence, groundedness, and going back to curiosity, like being a vessel, right, for letting energy move through you, right? You're the conduit. And so if this person is coming to play keys on a record and they had a shitty day earlier,
right?
Let's start at how's your day going, bro? You know,
Right.
and it's like, man, cool. Do you need anything right now? There's some water right there. Let's
Right.
go. Let's order some food. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is, like let's get everybody here, and then once we're here, now we can play. You know what I'm saying, and explore what's possible. And
Everyone's
so,
gotta be comfortable.
got to take that deep breath, man, because if you don't, it's gonna be chaos.
Right. Right.
Ugh, that's the worst feeling is like a chaotic studio session.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, thank you, bro.
Definitely.
No, thank you.
Awesome. How do you foster effective collaboration between engineers, musicians, other team members to serve the artist's needs?
A big smile. You know, a big freaking smile. Right. And I'm going to keep repeating these same answers because the idea of patience is important. I mean, we've had days where, 12-hour days, you know what I'm saying, where we think there's an agenda or priorities in the day, but something goes haywire, or we didn't have lunch at 12, or this person came and decided they wanted to smoke for the first few hours before they it's just like, and I think, for me at least, going back again to like the engineer is like the most important person in the room, aside from the actual artist that's performing. Right. And so everybody else's opinions, everybody else's issues really take a back seat to that. And so if I can make the environment as safe and comfortable for the engineer, because you and others are like carrying all of our energy into this session, then it helps, I think, mitigate a lot of the issues, right? But I genuinely like to make sure that I know where people's heads are, where their head is, where the heart is, and ground us in like what is our purpose in being in this space, and that is to explore whatever comes through us, whatever the download is, and respect my fucking engineer because what are you thinking right now? like
that's why I love working with you.
like watch your mouth. No, and if honestly, and it's also a learning. Right, there's a lot of education, and I jokingly tell people like I pay you a lot of money to teach me how to engineer, right? And so that like I can communicate to you better, right? And I think if I notice that there are some people coming into a space that don't have that vernacular in the studio, I peep that early, and then I try to intervene as soon as possible, right? Because that frustration is also something that can knock the energy in the studio space.
And that really is more or less the definition of a producer.
Sure.
It's someone that can be the translator between the technical and the creative.
Right. Yes. So then yes, Brendan.
And how do you tap into the emotional core of a song during recording, especially when multiple takes are required?
Yeah. Whoa, that's a good one. My rule of thumb, especially now, is we're freestyling an energy. We're gonna explore what comes out, and the minute that I feel like I'm forcing something, let's go to the next, right? But if I'm exploring something and it's like, oh shit, this bring me back here. This is a moment. Like let's play here for a second, and that informs the next thing, and then the song is done, right? In an hour, and it's like, whoa, this was a magical moment. That's how I get through the process. I try not to force too much, especially in sort of like a flow state. I really want to just take my mind out of it as much as possible.
Right.
If I'm thinking about it too much, it's trash to me.
Yeah.
To start, right? Yeah. If I'm putting too much like logic into the process, it's not worth it, right? And so as much as I can just get freestyle the energy, until something comes out that sticks, and when it sticks, like the energy, like we might look at each other like, oh, that was, bring me back right here real quick. Let's play here for a sec. Once that sort of like light happens, that light moment happens, then I'm like, okay, that's the soul of the song,
Yeah.
right? There have been other moments where I've come into the session, I'm like, yo, I really want to, we've been doing these covers together, and I wanted to do like a Lauryn Hill I Get Out cover. Like in my mind, I was like, that's the intention.
Right.
I don't want to do it exactly how she did it. And so to change it into like a blues variant, there was just a lot of imagination that went into that. Right. And so again, we kind of felt our way through that process as well. And so, yeah, I think just go with the flow until the flow runs out, and then go to something else and see if the flow's there. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. And how do you take care of your mental and emotional well-being in an industry known for its pressures and demands?
I don't. I don't. I'm that corpse on the wall. No. Going back to what I was saying earlier, I've been fortunate to be able to find levels of success outside of music so that I can keep music as my sanctuary.
Right.
So, I go to music to find that respite versus doing, other things because the music industry is on some BS.
Right.
And so I really want to keep it that way as much as possible, as long as possible.
Right.
And make the music that I think is really healing for me personally. And then, I pray that we can build a community around that healing so that, it can sustain me as a career one day.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
And can you talk about some of your current or recent projects?
Yeah, sure. I'm working on a new record, I guess. I have songs. I have a lot of songs.
Yeah. You always have a lot of songs.
That are not done. Or they are done. A lot of them are done. But I want to put out a new record soon. We just released a project called Hughes Reimagining. And executive produced by David Tam, and mixed, mastered everything. Produced by me, you, Brandon Forte. And it's, it was our take on doing covers, right? And so we reimagined a lot of really cool songs. That was really fun. I'm very excited about that. Before that, I put out an album called The Healing EP, February 22nd, 2022. It was really dope. And that was sort of my genesis into singing, R&B, and mixing that, I think, with those hip hop elements that we talked about earlier. And then if you go to like my Bandcamp, there's like a lot of the mixtapes that I put out and things like that. But yeah, I'm really excited about the trajectory of where we're going. A lot of folks are calling this like trap Sade. Yeah. They're saying it sounds like, a blend of, Sade and Seal and a lot of these really beautiful artists who were extremely vulnerable in their music. And I pray that's what they're trying to communicate when they make the comparisons versus you sound like Seal or you sound like Sade, right? Because that's not the intention.
Right.
I really hope it's the heart of the music that people are connecting to. Right. For sure.
Nice. Yeah. And I like to wrap up each podcast with the same set of questions.
Yeah.
We'll tweak them a little bit for your case.
Okay.
The first one is, who is your most influential teacher?
Most influential teacher? My mother, rest in peace, to Tommy Jewel. Teachers.
Yeah, it could be a few.
Yeah, my mom for sure. My children, my two kids, Demaria and Shine, are huge teachers. My godfather, Albert Brown, my siblings, my lover, and life, the experiences of me walking through life, huge teachers. Yeah.
Right. For sure. Nice. The next one is, you know, like what is your favorite reference track for an engineer to go to a new studio? But in your case, what would be a track that you put on to be inspired?
Anything Christian Scott, Chief Atunde Adjua is a phenomenal composer, and you know, growing up playing the trumpet, and when I transitioned from playing the horn to being a poet or MC, I promised myself that I would approach the art form as if Miles Davis was doing his solos, right? So like thinking about things outside of the regular time signatures that hip hop is confined in. And so I've used, you know, Chief Adjua as a muse to like keep my inspiration flowing. So I would freestyle to a lot of his records, like Stretch Music. That album is so phenomenal, and I would just like rap to, you know, these different time signatures to find other pockets and bring that back into hip hop, right? And so, yeah, put him on, and I'm in the vibes.
Nice,
for sure, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Last question is, what would be one tidbit for an upcoming engineer, but an upcoming artist in your case?
Yeah, I'll answer it for both.
Okay.
For an upcoming engineer, find your voice, right? It's good to know the tools, but like, what is your contribution to the music industry, right? And I say that because every artist needs inspiration, and you know, for an engineer to have a really beautiful idea of like, oh man, you know, this plugin is actually gold, like, and you introduce it to the artist, they're like, oh shit, I didn't even, oh man, I might be able to, wait a minute, let's play here too. You know what I'm saying? And so like create your voice, right? For an artist, find a good engineer. and you know, find somebody who's coming up as well and create a sound and a voice together. You know what I mean? And you know, believe that your contribution is worthy of creating as an artist, you know?
Nice.
A lot of times we compare ourselves in really ridiculous ways, man, but like your contribution that you make is good enough. Right. You know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brendan. This has been dope.
Cool.
And he's the wizard, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
This is the wizard. This is our wizard, man. We're grateful for you, bro. Thank you for everything that you've done as well in this industry.
My
for
pleasure.
Sure.
Cool.
Thanks, bro.
All right, man. Thanks so much for checking out the show. Make sure to subscribe and leave a review or comment. I'll see you next week.